And welcome to the second episode of the Mariners recap, where the Mariners nearly did complete the sweep, but unfortunately, they did not complete the sweep. Now, before we even get to that, here is a message from one of our sponsors.
Modern Exterior Solutions is a fully licensed and insured full-service exterior renovations company serving Seattle and East Side communities. We know that a home is one of your most important possessions. That's why we're committed to providing high-quality, affordable home renovations for each customer's individual budget. We're diverse enough to meet the challenges of any project you put in front of us. Our workmanship minimizes the use of third-party services, and our team works together to meet all your deadlines. Anytime there's a challenge, we work with you to find a solution. We're proud to work with distributors of quality brand products with durable, ample protection from the elements for a variety of applications, including James Hardie siding and trim. Talk with us today about your project's needs, and we can help you solve all the challenges along the way.
So if you are interested in that kind of project for your home, call 206-992-4465 and use the promo code Modern Rooftop when you do make that call or that inquiry to get your 20% off your first service. Now, the Mariners, how did they do? Well, they took 2 of 3 from the Cleveland Guardians. I gotta say Guardians because it's for the algorithm. But yeah, 2 of 3. It really should have been a sweep. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through briefly the 3 games, how it went, and my thoughts on it. So let's get to it as soon as we possibly can right now. And before you do, hit that subscribe button in case if you haven't. And here we go. So it was Friday, April 7th. It was Mariners were on 2-5. They were not off to a good start. But here is what happened to it all. Let me go to that game. So the Mariners won that game on the first time, 5-3. It was 5-3, and here's how it went. So first, the Cleveland Guardians scored the first 3 runs on Logan Gilbert, which was very surprising because Logan Gilbert was pitching very well on the game before that, but it was unfortunately ruined because the Mariners didn't provide any run support, and Diego Castillo, of course, made it worse. So it was 3-0, unfortunately. But then, fortunately, the Mariners responded by scoring 2 runs in the top of the 5th. And then top of the 6th was probably the biggest turning point. So what happened was Jarred Kelenic was on an 0-2 count. I believe he was on an 0-2 count. I mean, he usually is on an 0-2 count, but he got a key double, and then J.P. Crawford drove him in, and then Julio Rodriguez hit that home run to make it 5-3, and then the bullpen, led by Penn Murphy, Trevor Gott, Matt Brash, Andres Munoz, and Paul Sewald, they all contributed to the point where they didn't even give up any runs, so that was pretty good. But Scott Service, once again, do you really have to burn through everyone? Because I mean, look what you did. You went through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pitchers in the bullpen, burning through all their arms. Cleveland only used 3, while you used 5. Once again, it really wasn't that necessary, but you did it anyway. And I think it really did contribute to the situation on where we're at now, where Andres Munoz is actually on a 15-day IL, where a couple pitchers, including Justin Topa and then some guy that I can't even name. I'll try to pronounce it once we get to that point. So they won 5-3, and I think the biggest key to that game was Jarred Kelenic hitting that double, which led to J.P. Crawford driving him in, and then that home run. Now the next game. So the Mariners, it was 5-3. No, I'm sorry. They won 3-2, where they had a 3-0 lead. It was looking really good. Marco Gonzalez surprisingly pitched pretty well. Personally, I didn't think he pitched that great. Now, here was his stat line for Marco Gonzalez. It was 5.2 innings, typical, what Scott Service does with the starters. Then 6 hits, one earned run, 3 walks, and 5 strikeouts. So it doesn't look that great, especially on 93 pitches. He threw 62 strikes and the rest were balls, so I guess that was okay. But much of those strikes that was given to him by the umpire arguably should have been balls. So the umpire, in some ways, did bail him out. So I don't want to give too much credit to Marco. It was just only because most of those hits that he gave up were extra base hits, so it could have turned anywhere. But anything could have happened at that point. And luckily the umpire was there on the Mariners side, because if they weren't, they would have been doomed for that game. But yep, so now the offensive end. So what were the keys of that game? So let me look at it really quick. So some doubles by Ty France. Tom Murphy got his first hit, so that was key. Teoscar Hernandez took a hit. And then the RBIs were given by Eugenio Suarez and Jared Kelenic. Jared Kelenic has been playing very well. And as of that day, he was sporting a .304 batting average with a .333 on base percentage. He has done pretty well considering what we were expecting from him, and considering that he still has a very high strikeout to walk ratio. But when it was 3-0, came to 3-2. Now, the one run was given up by Marco Gonzalez, which, you know what, for one run that he only gave up, I'll take it. But now here's the pitching lines for the bullpen. He burned through 4 bullpen pitchers. It was to Penn Murphy, Matt Festa, Gabe Spire, and Paul Sewald. Once again, he pulled Penn Murphy when he only pitched not even an inning, and he put in Festa, who gave up a run. Spire actually did pretty well. He's been doing pretty well. 2 strikeouts and 1 walk. Paul Sewald got the save, but they were hits and a walk given up, so that wasn't good. So that was like a narrow escape. If I were to tell the Scott Service, should have kept Penn Murphy in one, like at least an inning. And I really think that they should be pitching at least 1.5 or maybe up to 2 innings, depending on the situation, because when you're pulling pitchers over and over again, it's going to give batters an opportunity to see who the next guy is. Let's say one batter might not like Penn Murphy, but the other batter, he might like Matt Festa. So by doing that, you're just giving the other team every opportunity to give them a pitcher that they can hit off of. And look what happened. Matt Festa just got sent down because, look at it, he's not even good. Now let's look at his ERA. Yes, it's a low sample size, but he is sporting a 10.80 ERA in 3 games pitched. So in 3.1 innings, he has earned 4 runs, including giving up a home run. That's not good. Not something you want to be a part of. And plus, last year, he had a 4.17 ERA, and I don't get why he really shouldn't be on this team. No, absolutely not. Now let's go to the next game. This one was tough. So Mariners got off on a 2-1. It was a 2-1 lead. And George Kirby, he was pitching pretty well. And this was going well into the later innings. And then let's go to the pitching line, because nothing really much happened in the offense between innings 2 until at least 9. At least in the 9th inning, they got an insurance run out of it. Now, I want to see specifically how it even got to those points. I'm pretty sure these websites are going to show like anything of how the game happened. Going to Sunday, April 9th. Going to the box. Now the scoring summary. So it was the top of the first inning. Cal Raleigh blasted a 2-run home run, and Cal Raleigh has been off to a very solid start. And Cal Raleigh, where is he at? Well, he is batting .242. He still strikes out, but it's still a much better start than what anyone could have expected, especially compared to last year when he was struggling the first month, just like Julio Rodriguez was. Now, I guess might as well just share the screen because I just want to see Just want to check out how everything happened. Going to the box score, sharing.
There's Cal. That's hit well, right field. Looking up, and there it goes. A 2-run homer for Cal Raleigh in an early.
As you can see, it's a little bit laggy, but Cal Raleigh did hit a nice home run, so that was good.
RBI 6.
And then bottom of the first, Stephen Kwan triples when it went to AJ Pollock, so that scored in a run. And then JP Crawford, he grounded into a double play, but that got the Mariners another run. Oh wait, no. What am I even thinking? No, these are just highlights. I'm sorry. I'm just off. Happy Monday. Not a good excuse, but anyways. And I'm trying to remember what happened in the top of the ninth inning, but it has been a while since what really went down. But they did score a run in the top of the ninth inning, leaving 3-1. And you would think it would be enough for a bullpen that is considered top 10. That is ranked top 10. But I disagree. Now, what exactly happened in the ninth inning? So the Indians or the Guardians, they scored a run, which made it 3-2. And then there was a nice little fly ball going over to Teoscar Hernandez. Went to Teoscar Hernandez, and then he dropped it. Isn't that great? He dropped it, which made it 3-3. Now, let's see who the pitchers were going up to that point. So you had George Kirby was doing fine. Diego Castillo, surprisingly, has done pretty well last outing or two. More like just last outing. Trevor Gott pitched a shutout. And then Matt Brash was the one that was to be the closer. They didn't have Paul Sewald available because they didn't want to burn him through. Which Mariners did use Paul Sewald quite a bit in a non-save situation. So maybe save him as a closer and not just mindlessly just keep using him, which Scott Service really does. He hasn't really had an established closer since Edwin Diaz, who the Mariners gave up for basically Jared Kelenic. Still hoping that trade works out. As of now, it's looking pretty good so far, but Matt Brash now has 2 blown saves this season, so I don't think he is the closer of our future. And he has a 5.06 ERA. Then it went to Justin Topa. He had 2 walks, but he got out of it, so that was pretty nice. And although the Indians or the Guardians tied that game, now I'm just trying to see that summary of how it went. Let's go into the highlights. Well, first I want to show you that just abomination of the meltdown. Let's go to the highlights, shall we?
Play! That'll tie the ball game. Will Brennan is 0 for 3 this afternoon.
It was Will Brennan, I guess. So it was a fly ball, as you can see. Teoscar looked like he lost it in the sun. But pretty bad coverage there. Not good. Not one bit.
2-run double.
Now those people in the shade.
Yeah, that really stinks.
He got a breaking ball, and Hernandez.
But however, even after the top of the 10th, we got JP Crawford responded. Well, he flied out. Never mind. Julio Rodriguez had a single. And then top of the 10th. So top of the 10th, they didn't even score. But then luckily in the 11th inning, first Teoscar struck out swinging, but then Jared Kelenic hit a double, which did help. Now here it is.
Struck out twice, a hard grounder to short, a walk this afternoon. Again, the 3-2 to Kelenic.
It was a nice fly ball.
It's got a ride going.
It was almost a home run too, but it just hit off the wall. But Cal Raleigh scored.
Stand up double, Jared Kelenic. And the Mariners have a 4-3 lead.
And then Jared Kelenic eventually scored, which made it a 2-run game. But then you had this guy, JB, who the Mariners just called up. I can't even pronounce his name, but I guess they considered it another blown save. JB Bukowskis. I guess JB Bukowskis. If I said his name wrong, let me know in the comments. But JB Bukowskis, he gave up the 2 runs. I guess one of them was considered an earned run. Oh, yeah, well, it's an earned run because when you have a man on second, it doesn't count as an earned run. Personally, I think it should. But he did that. But then the Mariners responded once again. They responded in the top of the 12th, where Teoscar Hernandez hit a single, which made it 6-5. And then Penn Murphy comes on. And you would think that should be enough to win this game. And then Open Sammy, did I watch the game? Of course I watched the game. I was watching it on TV. I'm explaining how the game goes, but tell me your thoughts. But yeah, Teoscar Hernandez hit that single. Then you had Penn Murphy, and he just completely just blew it. And then they lose. Yeah, that's what happens. So first it was a ground out because Penn Murphy already put men on base. And then eventually the Mariners lost on a fielder's choice. Now, my analysis on this one, what I did not like, putting in Matt Brash in a closing situation was not ideal. I think you should just let Trevor Gott see what he can do because he's actually been pitching surprisingly well. Like, he has yet to give up an earned run, and you put him in for, and you replaced him with Matt Brash. Like, come on. Like, this is not, you should not be doing this closer by committee thing. You should stick to a closer and just stick with it, which Scott Service can't really do. And then you had Justin Topa, who also pitched pretty well. And it's not like these guys are, and Justin Topa's arm's pretty fresh because this is his major league debut. And I will say this, had Scott Service not like pitched everyone every single day pretty much, which he has been doing, which led up to this point, and even with a day off, these pitchers shouldn't have been tired. And that's the headline, is these pitchers were just exhausted. But they were exhausted because Scott Service just kept using them like almost every day. And then Penn Murphy, you should have made him the closer a lot earlier than over Matt Brash, because Matt Brash is just a middle reliever or maybe a setup. Brash is not exactly a closer. Now, granted, let me drink this water. Now, granted, you should have, granted, I will say that Matt Brash has a really big arm. Like, the way he pitches is just beautiful. He has a really nice arm. But I will say this, the guy needs to work on his control, that's for sure. And I think I've done enough just kicking Scott Service like it's a dead horse. But some interesting stats that I have noticed. The Mariners are actually they are leading the major leagues right now in blown saves. 4 blown saves. And I'm just going to say this too. Like, the fans and even Seattle media, they don't really pay attention to how this bullpen is really doing. Like, if you look at it in terms of just ERA alone, and I will gladly show you the stats just so I'm being actually legitimate about it. Sharing that screen once again, going to the pitching stats. Excuse me. As you can see, Mariners are top 7 in the bullpen. They're at 2.98. So, okay, that looks pretty good. That looks pretty appealing. Like, it's not the worst. They're top 10, and that's pretty good. But what the fans are not looking at, I go to save opportunities. They've had 7 save opportunities, and they blew 4 of those saves. Now, yes, it was probably inflated because of yesterday, but the fact that they couldn't get the job done 3 times, the fact that they couldn't get it done 3 times, it really just proves that this bullpen still has issues. They always leave men on base. Scott Service has no idea how to use them, or maybe he does know what he's doing, or he feels he knows what he's doing. but he's not doing it right. And whatever his methods are, it's not working. And basically, until the Mariners win the World Series or ever, or even get to the ALCS at least, more like the World Series, I will bring up the fact that Scott Service mismanaged his pitching throughout the entire American League Division Series. So because of that, when he put in Robbie Ray, he pulled Paul Sewald, he just kept rotating his pitchers. That's where his downfall was. But everyone's just jumping on the offense. Now, let's look at the offense. Now, in terms of just runs scored alone, Mariners are now 17th. Now, I know that the offense is still taking its time to get cooking, but if you really think about it, if it really makes you feel better, or if it's any kind of consolation, let's go all the way back to 2010, where the Mariners had Ichiro. Griffey was on his last legs pretty much. Mariners were the worst hitting offense, worst scoring offense in the league at 30th. They scored 513 runs. It was nearly doubled up by the New York Yankees, sort of. So if anyone wants to say that this offense is terrible, just go back to 2010, and then you will think otherwise. But some positives to look at. Ty France is off to a good start. Julio's doing pretty solid. Jared Kelenic is actually exceeding the expectations. Now, if you look at Jared Kelenick's batting average as of now, I'm going to go to it. Jared Kelenic is now batting .286. That is above from what we expected, with a .333 on base percentage. He doesn't have a home run yet, which all of us would like to see, but for now, he's still at least driving in runs. At least, well, 2 RBIs. At least he did in the Cleveland series. He has 3 doubles, but he just has to find a way to just strike out less. Now, he is looking a lot more patient, because that one time in that extra innings game, he was fighting an 0-2 count, and eventually he actually made it work out. He worked the pitcher, was very patient, and then got the RBI out of it. So considering how he's doing right now, like, I will take this. And let's go back to the splits of 2022. When I look at his stats in 2022, here's how he did in April. Although he hit 2 home runs, he was batting .148, a .221 on base percentage, 27 strikeouts, and only 6 walks. And what we're at, like, almost halfway at this point of this month, sort of, not really. But in 8 games played, Kelenic has 10 strikeouts, and at that pace, it would have been like, what, 14? So Kelenic's doing pretty well. So I'm impressed how he's doing. So there are some positives. Like, yes, the Mariners won the series, and yes, the Mariners won the series. Yes, some of our players are doing well. Would like to see Teoscar do a little bit more, which he really hasn't. Like, he's supposed to be our replacement to Mitch Haniger. And had Mitch Haniger been healthy, it would have made the Mariners look really bad. Just not extending Mitch Haniger. But it's still understandable to this day. But however, if Teoscar Hernandez cannot perform this way, and if you have, like, man, if you have Teoscar Hernandez not performing and Colton Wong not performing, it's going to make you miss Mitch Haniger, Jesse Winker, and any other players I should think of, and Adam Frazier. Now, granted, those players did not do well for the Mariners last year, but it's at least looking a lot better than what it is right now. Hopefully, we can just say that it's early. They played Cleveland. They've played a solid team. Angels, they really should have won that series. They really shouldn't have lost that series. But let's go to the standings right now. I know it's probably too early to look at the standings, but I thought I'd just do it for fun. But here's the AL West. You got the Angels. They're leading it with a 5-4. Texas 5-4. Houston's 4-6. Seattle's 4-6. Oakland, well, they're Oakland. But with Houston off to this kind of start, the Mariners really should be taking advantage of this. That not everyone's off to a good start. Like, look at Tampa Bay. They're off to a 9-0 start. And with the with the talent that the Mariners have and the way that all these losses were kind of preventable, Mariners should at least be close to it, especially with the talent that they have. And hopefully they can pick it up against Chicago. And it makes me wonder, like, who is going to pitch today? And just for fun, I just want to look at the wild card picture, which it's not even available yet, which is kind of funny. But I guess if wild card was a thing, Mariners would be out by just like a game or so. But hopefully the Mariners can pick that up. Now let's go to the 10th. Now, who is going to pitch? We've got Luis Castillo and Drew Smyly. And Castillo with 12 strikeouts have yet to give up a run yet. Drew Smyly with an 0-1 with an 11.57 ERA. So hopefully the Mariners can get going, take advantage. Let's beat up these Cubs. Let's get a sweep out of it to make up the fact that the Mariners lost the series to Cleveland at home and the Mariners at home. So yeah, I'm one of those that does not like settling for two out of three, especially unlike previous times of situation where if the Mariners lost the previous series, I would want the Mariners to go for that sweep to make up for it. Just like how if the Mariners swept the Cleveland Indians or Guardians or whatever you want to call it, that could have at least made up for the Angels series and put it at break even, but they didn't. So sorry, I look at it in many different perspectives. And Josh, the early 2010s were some really bad teams. It really was. The only thing that team really had going was maybe starting pitching, maybe the bullpen. But man, that offense was just atrocious. And just for retrospect's sake, let's look at that 2010 team and see how bad it really was. Like, it just gives me bad memories. And it's not like there was much memories of that 2010 team anyway. But let's take a look at 2010 on just how awful that team was. Oh, man, this is just going to be painful to look at, isn't it? All right, here we are. Your starting catcher was Rob Johnson and Adam Moore. How good were they? You had Rob Johnson, who couldn't even break a 300 on base percentage. Adam Moore was not much better, so your catching core was already terrible. I heard Rob Johnson was terrible at defense, too. And your starting shortstop was Jack Wilson. Although he was best known for his fielding, couldn't really do anything else. So he was basically the crappy version of Brendan Ryan, as if Brendan Ryan, he was only known for his fielding, too. Oh, man, you had Milton Bradley, who was one of your starting left fielders or right fielder or wherever he was. Casey Kochman couldn't even break a 300 on base percentage in 125 games. Oh, yeah. He was supposed to be that big signing for the Mariners. Not good. Then you had Sean Figgins. At least he had 42 stolen bases, but certainly lived below the expectations. And then you had Josh Wilson. I barely remember who that even was. And then you had Jose Lopez, who played third base. He had 10 home runs, but it was just terrible. Michael Saunders was at least one of the promising players. Franklin Gutierrez had a down year. Ichiro, this was his final All-Star season as a Mariner. And then Russell Brandon, who the Mariners brought in, which was weird because the Mariners didn't want to bring him back after the 2009 season. And then the Mariners, well, after the 2009 season when he dominated, but then was ended with injuries. And then they brought him back in the middle of the season when the Mariners were pretty much tanking at that point. Oh, and my most favorite part of this, Ken Griffey Jr. Oh my gosh, Ken Griffey Jr. Oh, he batted 184, 250 on base percentage, 0 home runs. Let me say this one more time. 0 home runs. And let's see, it's Josh said you had them and the Astros were bottom feeders. The Astros had multiple 100 lost seasons. It still hurts. Yeah, but Josh, kind of worked out, didn't it? Didn't it get you all of those young talents eventually drafted? And you still have a good farm system right now. So, I mean, I know how you're feeling, but go talk to a Mariner fan like me, and then talk about pain. Enjoy your 2 World Series, my friend. But look at us. We still don't even have one. But I think that's all I really got to say now. Let's go back and I want to look at how the offensive players are doing right now for the Mariners. And after that, I want to do some quick minor league talk. It won't take that long. But here's where we are. So Cal Raleigh, he's off to a pretty solid start. He's hit a home run, batting 242, not great. At least a 324 on base percentage, and his strikeout to walk ratio isn't terrible. Ty France is off to a great start. Colton Wong, 0.74 ERA. He really better get that up because he's really making Adam Frazier look like an all-star right now. JP Crawford. JP Crawford, he had some key hits against the Cleveland teams. But other than that, he's off to a very underwhelming start. And I will say this, beware of 2 shortstop prospects the Mariners got right now. They got Cole Young, who is in Modesto right now. And then you've got Felnin Celestine, who the Mariners just signed out of Dominican Republic. Beware of those 2 in the future. Now, I'm not saying that they're going to take over for JP Crawford now, but like at least a few years from now, if they perform to exactly what we expect, maybe they'll actually give JP Crawford at least a run for his money and force him to move to like second base, or maybe vice versa. Who knows? Eugenio Suarez, as much as he has 12 strikeouts and 1 walk, he at least makes it up with 15 hits, batting 357 and a 372 on base percentage. So Suarez is off to a good start considering he hasn't even hit a bomb yet. And fun fact, I'm as old as he is. I feel old. Then you got Jared Kelenic off to a solid start, and Julio Rodriguez, arguably the best players on the offense right now, other than Eugenio Suarez and Ty France. Teoscar, well, at least he had 2 home runs. And then Cooper Hummel, look how he's doing. A .91 ERA. Wait, did I say ERA? I meant a .91 batting average. And you have AJ Pollock, at least he gets on base, but Cooper Hummel. He's just not good. Now, if you're wondering how the Mariners got Cooper Hummel, in case if you're late to this game, here is how he got to the Mariners. The Mariners traded, if I can find this transaction, they traded Kyle Lewis, who was the former Rookie of the Year from the 2020 pandemic season, quarantine season, COVID season, whatever you want to call it. He is now batting, well, he's not doing much better. The only thing that separates him and Cooper Hummel is he at least has a home run, but he's not hitting much better either. And then Josh, he said, yeah, it did work out. Yes, it did work out. I think the Mariners do have a chance. It will take a whole lot of luck. Well, yeah, absolutely. Just like what the Mariners did last year when they had that 14-game winning streak, and the second half of their schedule wasn't even that impressive. And honestly, the Mariners didn't really take advantage of such a lightweight schedule in the second half. But 14-game winning streak, tough to do. But when I saw the strength of the schedule, wasn't that great. But hey, I guess the Mariners took advantage of it. Ooh. Now, let's go to the little thing I want to do is 2020, the Mickey Mouse season. Josh, let me ask you this. The Astros, who nearly made it to the World Series on the Mickey Mouse season, would you have taken the World Series if the Astros won? As a Mariners fan, if they limped into the playoffs and somehow win the World Series, I would have taken it. I would have no question taken a World Series for that. Absolutely would have taken the World Series on a quarantine year. Exactly. Let's not call it the Mickey Mouse season. Just take it for whatever it is, because Dodgers fans certainly took it because they hadn't celebrated a World Series since 1988, and that's when Tommy Lasorda was their manager. Which, speak of, I gotta show that clip that just never gets old. Here we go, going to share the screen. Well, yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna share my favorite Dodger moment, I guess. It was that Kirk Gibson home run. It was a very inspiring moment because that was when Kirk Gibson was suffering an injury when he was with the Dodgers. And this was against Dennis Eckersley of the Oakland A's. And here's what happened. Here's what went. Yep, Kirk Gibson hits that home run, and this was his only at bat of the entire World Series. And you got Tommy Lasorda going, "Woo, yeah, we just won," because he made a very gutsy call of pinch hitting him, Kirk Gibson, when he had a pretty bad foot, suffered a terrible injury in the LCS, National League Championship Series. But yeah, look at Tommy Lasorda, so happy. And then you got Kirk Gibson just limping in just complete happiness. The impossible has happened. Yep, so that was the last time the Dodgers won a World Series, 1988. And the last time the Mariners won a World Series? Never. And hopefully they do this year, because I still delusionally believe that this is a World Series team. And then Josh goes, yeah, they did, but people love to hang it on Dodgers fans. Not only do they like to hang it on Dodgers fans, they also like to hang it on Lakers fans, just LA in general, because the Lakers also won on a, quote, bubble season. But I will still say, I think they were going to win that championship anyway, no matter how it went. The only team I think that would have beat them is maybe the Milwaukee Bucks, but somehow the Bucks choked against the Miami Heat. And I will say this, it was actually much more difficult to win in the playoffs in a bubble season when home court advantage wasn't even a factor. Same things for these playoffs where home field advantage wasn't even a factor. So the fact that they won on a completely neutral site was actually pretty impressive. But yeah, people love to make fun of the Dodgers or Dodgers fans and LA fans because the Lakers, because they're that, quote, evil empire still. They still have that name that still lives rent-free in people's heads, just like how somehow the name Yankees still lives rent-free in many people's heads when the real juggernauts of the team right now are, I guess, Houston, once they pick things back up, which I totally expect them to. And I was expecting them to, well, at least not be a disaster when Jose Altuve is hurt. Which is why I'm going to say it. With the time that the Mariners have to take advantage. Now, I'm not saying injury is a great thing. It's a terrible thing. But with how somewhat shorthanded the Astros are, the Mariners should be taking advantage. But now, unfortunately, their bullpen is shorthanded because Scott Servais just basically nukes his entire bullpen by pulling pitchers after one inning. Doesn't even at least give them a time to at least pitch a little bit more to save the arms for the others. Hey, the Nationals did it in odd 2019 World Series, and that was their first World Series appearance. It actually was, and the more odd thing about that was home field advantage was actually home field disadvantage because the Nationals won all their games on the road, and the Astros won all their games on the road. So I thought that was pretty random. That was a weird World Series, but hey, good for them because that was after Bryce Harper left, and other than that big paycheck that Bryce Harper got, I wonder how he feels that he basically traded a World Series ring for paychecks. But hey, who knows? Maybe Bryce Harper would have made it worse because, I mean, the guy is quite a hothead. And let me see how many times this guy strikes out because I do look at that. It was, yeah, he strikes out a career high, 178 strikeouts. So maybe all those strikeouts that were subtracted for the 2019 Washington Nationals, maybe that did work out for the better, even though a lot of their hitters still did. But either way, still worked out for them very well. And yes, it was the oddest World Series ever saw. And yeah, it's like I said. Now, let's transition into the minors. So, not much to report, but in case you're wondering, Harry Ford, one of the most hyped prospects for the Mariners right now. He is a catcher / outfielder, maybe infielder, But on his debut, he went 3 for 5 with 2 RBIs with the Aqua Sox on A+ level. And I would highly recommend each and every one of you to go to a minor league baseball game, especially with the prospects the Mariners got. Go check them out. Don't just leave your head hanging on the Mariners, and their tickets aren't very cheap and pretty hard to get there too. And your phone signal is probably shoddy compared to like all the other minor league games that you go to. And I've been to a few minor league games. They are totally worth going. They're cheaper to go. You have much better viewing, and you get to see prospects that may be part of the Mariners' future. And another guy to look up to, or look at, not look up, because I'm older than these guys. I should be looking up. Yeah, you know what I mean. But Tyler Locklear, he is another possible first base prospect for the Seattle Mariners of the future. Went 2 for 4 with an RBI and a walk, and they did win that game. Then you had the Aqua Sox on the weekend. Harry Ford went for 1 for 4 with an RBI, but a triple. Excuse me. And then Tyler Locklear went 1 for 4. So Everett games, something to go to. Everett or Tacoma, especially if you're in Washington State. Now, if you're in Arkansas, and if for some reason you're a Mariners fan down there, or you end up in Arkansas for whatever reason, check out in Arkansas's Travelers game. And a prospect to check out there are Bryce Miller and Emerson Hancock. And there's this other guy. I forgot his name already. Robert Perez Jr. is the other guy you want to look at. And if you're in Modesto, California, so let's say you go on this trip to California. Let's say you want to go to an Oakland A's game. And then go to an Oakland A's Mariners game. And then maybe if the Modesto Nuts are in town, go to Modesto. Now, let's take a look and see how long it would take to go from Modesto to Oakland. Got Modesto, California. And then you got Oakland, California. Oh, wow. Huh. Oh, my goodness. You've got an hour and 24-minute drive going east. So you are going, well, not San Francisco, but you're just going east. It's quite a ways. So, yeah, if you want to check out minor league baseball, you are heading to those locations. And I think that's all I've got covered for today, but just wanted to go over the Mariners Guardian series or Indian series or whatever in the world you want to call them. Then I went over some minor leagues and the things to look forward to for the Mariners. And now, before I go, let's take a look at who the Mariners are going to face for the next 3 games in Chicago. The Chicago Cubs, the once former lovable losers, and now they have a fan base that has arguably one of the worst reputations because they traded Steve Bartman. But it's gonna be Luis Castillo against Drew Smyly, and then the next game you've got after that. Next is Chris Flexen against that guy, Wesneski. I think I do like my odds on that one too. And then April 12th, on an early game, you got, this one might be tough. You got Logan Gilbert against Stroman. So, by the Mariners, try to, get the sweep. Like, you got to get the sweep to at least make up for the bad starts in Cleveland, at home, and the Angels at home. So, go for that sweep before you head into the weekend, because you want to at least get some confidence, get the fans fired up for Friday for the Cal Raleigh bobblehead night, which is April the 14th, I'm pretty sure. Let me double check on that. Cal Raleigh bobblehead. The Cal Raleigh bobblehead is going to be April 14th. So if you want a bobblehead, go to a Mariners game on April 14th. I probably won't go. I am hopefully planning to live stream that game from home from here once again with hopefully my friend Nelson. And throughout that, since the Mariners don't have commercials still, I will play those Mariners commercials again and just for retrospective purposes and then talk about them. So for upcoming day on Friday, hopefully I'll have a show if I'm available, because this is not the only occupation I've got. But on Friday, I'll go over those 1994 commercials and just go from there, try to go through the entire way throughout my show. Well, I guess that's it. That's all I've got. Those are all my thoughts. Let me know in the comments on how you feel about the Mariners if you're still around. And Josh, thank you for being my most engaging audience. And Open Sammy, thanks for pointing out that I certainly made it look like I did not watch the game. I guess I had a little bit of adrenaline. Not a great excuse, but anyways, that is it for today. And until then, I'm going to show this last message by my sponsor again, Modern Exterior Solutions.
Modern Exterior Solutions is a fully licensed and insured full-service exterior renovations company serving Seattle and East Side communities. We know that a home is one of your most important possessions. That's why we're committed to providing high-quality, affordable home renovations for each customer's individual budget. We're diverse enough to meet the challenges of any project you put in front of us. Our workmanship minimizes the use of third-party services, and our team works together to meet all your deadlines. Anytime there's a challenge, we work with you to find a solution. We are proud to work with distributors of quality brand products with durable, ample protection from the elements for a variety of applications, including James Hardie siding and trim. Talk with us today about your project's needs, and we can help you solve all the challenges along the way.
So yes, once again, if you are in the Washington, King County area, check out Modern Exterior Solutions and call that number at 206-992-4465, promo code Modern Rooftop. And I just tested that show the comment. That's pretty cool. Well, let's look at the comments. Let's review them before I take off. Open Sammy, did you watch the game? Yeah, I definitely made that impression. Josh was talking about all these times when Astros were on a rebuild mode. Then we had to talk about that Mickey Mouse season. And he said, oh, absolutely, he would take that. Nationals. And then we got Cooper Media. I guess he's another Houston guy. Go Astros, right? Well, I'm a Mariners fan, so I can't really cheer for the Astros. But I will say this. My Yordan Alvarez video is still my most watched video on my YouTube channel. And it was a video about how Yordan Alvarez got to the Astros, and it was arguably the Mariners that did make that happen. Now, let me find that video, and I will link you gentlemen that video in case you've probably watched it, because most of my audience on that video were Astros fans. Maybe I should start making like Astro-related content, because, I mean, you Astros built my YouTube channel, arguably. Yep, good old Josh Fields. Yep, so go ahead and watch those, gentlemen, and see how that is. So I'll give you a brief on what happened before I go. And you guys are just making it too much fun. Like, I will say this, I have a lot more fun talking to these Astros fans than my Mariners fans. Most Mariner fans, I argue with them. We do not even see neck and neck with each other. We're totally not on the same page. But here's what happened, unless you want to watch the video. And this is before I go. So it was the Mariners in 2007. They won 88 games with the core of Felix Hernandez as the starter. And you had Richie Sexson and Adrian Beltre. And you had Ichiro and Raul Ibanez. But however, the Mariners missed the playoffs by about 6 games on each of the American League West and the wild card. And the starters were awful. Other than Felix, you had Miguel Batista, who was maybe above average, already past his prime. He was part of that Randy Johnson 2001 team. And then you had bums like Horacio Ramirez, Jeff Weaver, and guys not worth mentioning. I will just say that. And then what happened after that? Mariners traded away Adam Jones, George Sherrill, and Chris Tillman and a few other prospects for Eric Bedard. And then that trade was just a train wreck because, I mean, although Eric Bedard was a solid pitcher, he was hardly ever available, including missing the entire 2010 season, and his only healthy season with the Mariners was 2011. And he was traded. Yes, that trade where the Mariners had Josh Fields on their team. Mariners traded Eric Bedard and Josh Fields to the Boston Red Sox to only get Trayvon Robinson, who was out of the major leagues by the end of the 2012 season. Although he had great defense, though. I got to give him that. And then Astros picked up Josh Fields in a Rule 5 draft, used him during the rebuilding years. And then once the Astros actually got good in 2017, or it was made the playoffs in 2015. And then in 2016, when the Dodgers were desperate for a bullpen pitcher, they traded away Yordan Alvarez to the Houston Astros for Josh Fields. Although Josh Fields was kind of solid for the Dodgers, well, at least we know what happened with Yordan Alvarez. So if you think about it, the Mariners in the long term, with their 11-year plan, sabotaged themselves to make competition difficult for themselves in the American League West, because Yordan Alvarez, he's been tearing it up. I mean, he tore it up in the World Series. And I would say, as a Mariners fan, that I have to hate this guy, which I'm not going to, because Yordan Alvarez arguably built my YouTube channel. And now I'm trying to find another way to keep building this channel. Well, anyways, I'm just going off, but thank you all for watching this video once again. I really do enjoy doing these recaps. Yes, I know, Josh. I'll just put it out there. We all know now. But anyways, that is going to be it. And thanks for watching. And happy Monday.